it's Zach here, and it's Q&A on Sunday. There's a question I didn't get to last week, and I'll just cover that one quickly. There was a question from Mega River about vision sensitivity to the sunlight and also tinnitus, how to deal with those kinds of issues. When you are out in the sun, never wear sunglasses. You're going to reduce your... you're going to basically be tricking the rods and cones in your eyes to be thinking it's nighttime or evening, and you're going to develop that aspect of your eyesight, and not so much the eyesight that's meant for daylight. And actually, being outside in daylight regulates certain hormones in the brain, and we want to have that natural light getting into our eyes. So if you are sensitive to the light, I would recommend actually getting out into the sunlight to get those beneficial light rays into your eyes, which go into your brain and alter your mood in some respects. The only time I'd say sunglasses are appropriate is when you're driving and you need them in terms of safety, like if you're driving in the sun setting and you've got it right in your eyes. That's probably the only time I think sunglasses really need to have a purpose. And the other issue is with the tinnitus, the ringing in the ears, and I'd recommend just a Chinese herbal remedy, which is simply combining goji berries and chrysanthemum flowers in a tea. And this you would simmer for maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes on a stove. And you get the properties of both of those in combination, which is specific for the liver, which is specific for the eyes. And actually, so that can help the eyes as well, but it is specific for tinnitus. Sorry, that's what I was meaning to say. It's a treatment for tinnitus and ringing in the ears. You do that for every day for several months. The next question is from Watch to Ride, and they're asking about the Hippocrates Health Institute, and they're thinking of going there at the end of the summer. And you've lived a healthy life for 40 years, you're mentioning, and been trying to eat raw lately, and what you can expect from going there for a week or two. And what you can expect, I'm guessing what you mean by what you can expect in your body. And you're going to probably definitely experience a certain amount of a healing crisis. I don't know what your diet has been. I mean, you said it's unhealthy, but it depends on how unhealthy. I considered my diet before going there unhealthy, but it's nowhere near as bad as most people who go there. Definitely check out my video series. If you search Secrets of Longevity, basically on video number 2 is the start of my 3-week blog of when I was at, that I kept, video blog daily when I was at Hippocrates. You can check out that to see what goes on at the Institute. I kind of give a overview over the 3 weeks of all the different aspects of their program. I obviously didn't even get to cover all of it, but that's the majority of the sort of things that you can experience there. So in terms of what you can experience in just 1 or 2 weeks, and not the full 3-week program, you're going to get detoxing symptoms. And it's usually the first week that people get hit the hardest. That's when you get like the real like drowsy feelings from whatever's going on, the high alkalinity in the blood, the toxins being released. That's just where the biggest major shifts take place. For me, it was actually the 2nd week. I'm guessing that's more because I didn't have things as built up, because I was doing raw before that. So yeah, whatever you can do before going in is going to make the time you go there easier to handle, that's for sure. I'm the Boss 951 asks my opinion about kombucha tea and whether it's good to drink it every day or just once a week. My opinion on probiotic foods is they're fantastic. You can overdo them if you're doing like kombucha, sauerkraut, cultured vegetables, kefir, and yogurt. If you're doing all those, coconut kefir, if you're doing too many, it's going to cause problems. You're just getting, I mean, you can't really have too much bacteria technically, but you're going to be processing all that bacteria and integrating into your colon, and you don't necessarily need to go overboard. And in some respects, too much cultured foods can actually reduce your lifespan because of some of the slight toxins in anything that's been fermented. And not many people are talking about this, but one of the ideas behind why the Okinawans live longer than the rest of Japan is the fact that because they have year-long cultivation of their gardens, they don't really have any season where they can't grow their vegetables. They don't do as many cultured and pickled foods. So they're getting less sodium, which is what's in a lot of pickled foods that are done traditionally. A lot of people are doing sauerkraut and these things without sodium, which is great, but there are other chemicals that are created in the fermentation process which have been linked to like esophageal cancer, stomach cancer, and that's highly suspected as the difference between mainstream Japan and then the coastal island of Okinawa, which is part of Japan. And it's that difference in consumption. They still consume some, so it's definitely needed that we need, all traditional cultures have some probiotic containing foods, but they don't go overboard with them. And the next question is from Sean Exposer, and he's asking, what advice could I give about the most healthful diet? Well, that's a very broad question, and that is actually something I go over in many of my videos. It's a vast-reaching topic. I'm not going to try and cover that here. Just stay tuned to this channel and my videos, and I do talk about diet on some occasions. It's only one aspect of longevity, but it's definitely a major aspect to it. Your other question is also about where do I get my DHA and EPA? Well, most of my DHA and EPA is made in my body when I consume short-chain omega-3s, and there is kind of a bit of a misinformation about where EPA and DHA comes from. People are taking it in fish, thinking that's the only place it comes from. However, it's been scientifically validated, and this is shown by many people such as Professor Brian Peskin, who is very well versed in biochemistry. And he's shown that the body does make EPA and DHA with the enzyme that creates it from the short-chain omega-3s. People are saying, well, that we don't have enough of those, but that's only in cases if you're consuming too much omega-6. So yes, if you're taking too much omega-6, you're using up the enzymes that convert omega-3 to DHA and EPA, which are longer-chain omega-3s. But the idea is that we want to get the omega-6s down anyways and not consume quite so much. So that's it's ideal to just believe in the power of the body and not get too caught up in things like fish oil, which are generally rancid fish guts that are the end process of an industry that was just looking for a way to sell their garbage, kind of the way the aluminum industry sells their fluoride to water treatment plants or to the government or whoever buys that, and then they put it in the water treatment plants and give it back to people as drinking water, saying it's good for us. On that note, DHA and EPA does come from algae. Fish eat algae, whether it's marine phytoplankton, lake algae, and then they produce their own omega-3s that way. And that's the basis for all of EPA and DHA that goes up the food chain. So it's really my belief that we do not need to take krill, which I was taking at one point, and it made my every juice that came out of my body, both everything from urine to sweat, I smelled like krill. It was disgusting. That tells me it's either off or it's just not something I want. And then the fish oils also are mostly rancid. And then the fish, there's the problem of overfishing the oceans and depleting fish stocks and all those horrendous things. And also mercury contamination. So yeah, I mean, algae oil, yes, it's more expensive. It's not as big an industry yet. But where you spend your money is like voting. So if you want to vote for a more sustainable world and health industry, then go for algae oil. Specifically, Udo's oil has a DHA supplement that you can take in little orange capsules, and I do take that from time to time. I take much less than what they recommend. They recommend 2 or 3 a day, but I just take 1 just for that extra boost. You know, I do notice a difference too. My vision gets better, so it can be beneficial to get a certain amount from the diet. I'm just emphasizing that our body does make enough, and for extra help we can take the algae supplements, and some of them are just DHA with very little EPA, but our body can downregulate the longest chain of omega-3, which is DHA, to EPA. That's a lot easier than up-regulating short-chain omega-3. It's a longer chain. You want to avoid the oil that comes in the bottles with flax oil mixed in with it, because flax is highly phytoestrogenic, and we don't need extra estrogens in our body, so just avoid that completely. And the other great source of omega-3 fatty acids that can easily be converted into DHA and EPA is products like E3live, the aphanizomenon flos-aquae algae, blue-green algae from Klamath Lake, which has specific factors in it that have been shown in clinical studies to increase the conversion of omega-3 to DHA and EPA. And that's fantastic because you know you're not getting too much DHA and EPA in that regard, which can be detrimental to the body if you're overloading on it, as a lot of people are doing. So I hope those have answered all the questions you were looking for, and I'll see you guys next week. Remember, you can ask questions at any time during the week, and I'll get to those next Sunday.